When my daughter left, I discovered an incredible secret, the waiter whispered. Don't drink that. Tom sat across from Mia, his daughter, in their favorite diner, where the neon lights flickered like the memories woven into the fabric of his life. Familiar sounds of sizzling burgers and the creaking of vinyl seats faded into the background as he fixed his gaze on her. She was vibrant, bubbling with excitement about college, and yet, under the surface, he felt a pull and ache that felt heavier than the double cheeseburger in front of him. Their bond was undeniable, a lifetime of shared laughs punctuated by hard lessons, but now, the thought of her leaving created an unease so profound he could hardly swallow. Dad, are you even listening? Mia's voice broke through his swirling thoughts, as sharp as a knife cutting through the fog of his mind. Yeah, of course. He glanced up, forcing a smile despite the storm within. But the truth gnawed at him, tethering his heart to the diner table. He felt pride in her potential, yet each tick of the clock pushed him closer to a future without the sound of her laughter filling his home. Just then, Mark, the waiter, young but wise beyond his years, leaned in closer, his eyes darting, voice a low whisper. Don't drink that. Tom jolted slightly. The warning wrapped around him, insinuating a weight he hadn't anticipated. What? He asked, uncertain if he'd heard right. Mark hesitated, then quickly moved away, leaving Tom's heart racing. It was just coffee, right? But the way Mark's brow furrowed suggested layers of meaning. Just like that, a thorn of curiosity embedded itself in him, clawing at the edges of conscious thought. Suddenly, the diner felt more significant than a simple eatery. Here, amidst the bustling chatter, Tom sensed something lingering in the air like grease and nostalgia. For years, he had meticulously crafted a present filled with love for Mia while crushing his own dreams and desires. What had he sacrificed? Generational expectations danced between them like specters. As Mia chatted about dorm decor, Tom's mind spiraled through old memories, his mother's diary surfacing unbidden, revealing a legacy filled with too many unspoken truths. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The moment stretched as the journal pages flitted through Tom's mind like fall leaves caught in an unpredictable wind. Each entry revealed cracks in his mother's polished facade, secrets of fears and unfulfilled dreams buried beneath expectations. Did she wrestle with her own burden of dissatisfactions? What choice would he make as he watched Mia soar? Mark's warning felt like more than just a caution about the coffee, it simmered with a deeper implication. Tom's heart thudded as the realization struck him. Powerful legacies could either imprison or liberate those caught in their grip. He grappled with feelings of anxiety and determination that pulsed through him relentlessly. Just as the diner began to dim around him, Mia's laughter rose like sunlight through the fog, reminding him of everything he stood to lose. At that moment of tension, as he met Mark's gaze across the room, the implication of the hidden family secrets hung heavy in the air. What were they? And how might they redefine everything he held dear? Mark's warning whispered within the walls, and Tom stood on the precipice of revelation, battling the contours of duty and desire as his daughter prepared to leave. Would understanding his past bring them closer, or would it forever alter the love that had sustained them both? The night stretched out. Before him, fraught with uncertainty, unresolved questions swirling like the steam above his untouched coffee. Tom's mind raced as he processed the myriad revelations swirling around him. Mia's animated voice filtered in and out, her words losing substance against the weight of his tumultuous thoughts. The significance of Mark's warning echoed like a drumbeat, growing louder with each passing second, and Tom felt a knot tightening in his stomach. He pushed the cold coffee away, its dark depths reflecting the shadows gathering in his own heart. Mia, he interrupted gently, a decision crystallizing in his mind. Can we talk about something more, well, serious? She paused, her eyebrows knitting together in curiosity. Sure, Dad. What's up? Taking a deep breath, Tom ventured into uncharted territory. Have you ever thought about the legacy you're inheriting? It's not just about school or your future, it's about the family that came before you. He watched as the light ebbed from her expression, understanding dawning slowly. You mean like Grandma's stuff? Those old diaries? Exactly. His voice barely rose above a whisper. There's more in those pages than stories about her life. There are secrets she kept, things she never voiced because of the expectations placed on her. I've been digging through them lately. Mia leaned forward, intrigue coloring her features. What kind of secrets, Dad? He hesitated, caught between wanting to share and fearing the vulnerability of exposing his own uncertainty. But this felt like the moment he needed to seize. She had dreams, plans that never saw the light of day. I always thought she was happy, but those entries reveal a different reality. It's almost like she was living for others but never herself. The weight of his words hung between them, palpable and unsettling. Tom's heart thudded as he recalled the well-worn pages, the raw honesty that had cracked open his perception. The truth poured from the diary like a stream illuminating dark corners. Maybe that's why I've played it so safe too. I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I wanted to be the kind of father who fulfills expectations, not one who pursues his own dreams. Is that where Mark's warning fits in? Mia asked, skepticism edging her tone. What does any of this have to do with me leaving for college? It has everything to do with you, he murmured, their connection tightening. You're stepping into a world brimming with opportunities, and I want you to be free, unburdened by the fears and regrets that have haunted me and your grandmother. Sensing his urgency, Mia's eyes sparkled with realization. You're telling me that understanding our past could help me avoid making the same mistakes? Precisely. The past is a lens through which we view the present. I'm learning that the legacies we inherit are not merely ours to accept, they can also be challenged, transformed. What if, instead of accepting those burdens, you reclaimed your story? Her silence screamed in contrast to the clattering din of the diner. Tom could see the gears turning behind her brow, the consideration settling into her mind. Wow, I never thought about it that way. So if Grandma had those hidden things, and you do too, what's next for us? A flicker of hope ignited in his chest. It's time we rewrite our family story. But I can't do it alone. I need you to engage with this legacy, to be aware of its potential influences. We can redefine what it means to be family together. Finally, she smiled softly, and the warmth of her gaze eased some of the tension in his heart. But in the back of his mind lingered the question of Mark and the secrets interlaced with their family history. As their conversation deepened, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that Mark's warning was more than a throwaway comment. Perhaps the warning spoke not just of coffee but of the tumultuous path ahead, a path that awaited them both, lined with choices yet to be made. Dad, Mia said, breaking his reverie, do you think we might find answers in those diaries? What secrets are still hidden in our family history? And the question floated ominously, weighing on him as he contemplated just how deep the rabbit hole might go. Filled with revelations that could reshape the very foundation of their future. Tom sat quietly in the booth, the din of the diner fading into a distant hum as he let the weight of Mia's question settle over him. The possibility of interference lingered in his mind, not just in the secrets of his mother's past, but in the choices he had made, choices that had always been shadowed by the fear of disappointment. As Tom looked at Mia, he saw his own reflection etched in her eyes, the anxiety, the anticipation, and the burgeoning curiosity. I think we should start with Grandma's diaries, Tom finally said, determination building in him. They're a way to uncover buried truths and perhaps our own strengths. This isn't just history, it's a chance to learn about potential we didn't even know existed. Mia nodded, her enthusiasm sparking excitement within him. Let us read them together. That way, we can discuss everything, learn and reflect, perhaps even map our own paths from what we uncover. He appreciated her eagerness, but with it surfaced a fear. What if the diaries didn't just reveal secrets about the past, but also mirrored his own vulnerabilities? What if they uncovered truths he wasn't ready to face? As they left the diner, a sense of responsibility settled over him, a calling to both guide his daughter and confront his demons. Later that evening, Tom sat at his kitchen table, surrounded by the notebooks, yellowed pages, and tattered booklets strewn across the surface like puzzle pieces waiting to come together. He thumbed through the delicate scripts of his mother, the faded ink reminding him of her elusive smile. Each line invited him deeper into her world, a world filled with dreams and disappointments. He could feel his own heart racing as he read sweet nothings that melted into sorrow. Moments passed before he found a passage that caught his breath. His mother had written about her love for painting, a passion she had suppressed under family expectations. "I want to paint the sea," the words had leaped out, raw and untainted. "But my brush seems heavy, dragging my heart. What will they think if I chase the waves instead of the noble path?" Tom's heart sank. Her fears echoed in his own life, reverberating in the decisions he made out of duty rather than desire. How many times had he abandoned his own aspirations for the sake of others? The realization struck him violently. "Dad?" Mia's cautious voice broke through his reverie. She had returned, and from the look on her face, she could sense the tempest within him. "What's wrong?" He hesitated, searching her gaze for a sign of understanding. "Mia, I've just realized how much of our lives has been defined by fear, the condition of living for others instead of ourselves. I don't want that for you." She moved closer, leaning over the table, her curiosity evident. "What did you find?" "It's the dread of following dreams that seems to cloud our family," he admitted, his voice trembling with sincerity. "I wish I had been braver, chased my own dreams instead. We need to break this cycle, you and I." As they pored over the pages together, pieces of his mother's yearning heart began to weave into their conversation, igniting something within both of them. With every shared reflection and insight, Tom felt fortified. It was almost like an unearthing of latent courage. With the weight of the diaries still upon them, they gathered back into a comforting silence. But as Tom replayed their revelations in his mind, an unsettling thought lingered. Were there more secrets yet to be revealed, moments yet to challenge their understanding of their lineage? He could feel the tension tightening again, sensing that Mark's warning still echoed somewhere in the corridors of the past. That he turned to Mia, meeting her gaze. "Are you ready to confront what we might uncover together? There's more to this journey that awaits us." "I'm ready," she said firmly, determination illuminating her features. Just then, Tom's phone buzzed violently with a text from Mark, and a chill of apprehension washed over him. "Tom, we need to talk. The past might not be done with you yet." As the weight of those words settled heavily upon him, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that answers were just on the horizon, lurking like shadows beneath the surface, waiting to confront them both. Tom felt the cold grip of anxiety tightening around his chest. He quickly glanced at Mia, her eyes wide with concern, and he knew they had to confront whatever lay ahead, not just for themselves, but as a testament to the generational burdens they were ready to shed. He opened the message again, forcing himself to process the implications. "Any idea what he means by that?" Mia asked, her youthful curiosity piercing through the suffocating fog of doubt. Tom shook his head and hesitated, contemplating how much to share. Mark was his brother, but they hadn't been close in years. Recent events had prompted a rift, growing like a chasm over the complexities of family responsibilities and expectations. The weight of unresolved issues taunted him, and he revolved the phone between his fingers, the screen glowing with unspoken truths. "Let me just finish reading," he finally replied, flipping back through the diaries, searching for solace amidst the chaos of emotions. As layers of ink unfurled before him, Tom's mind drifted into deeper realms of consideration. The stories of his mother were more than mere memoirs. They were declarations, resonances of a woman who fought the tides of societal demands. With Mia at his side, every revelation felt like a second chance, a chance to understand what it truly meant to live authentically. The next passage he stumbled upon detailed an event that sent a ripple through his heart. She spoke of a moment in her youth when she had chosen to abandon a promising art competition for a family obligation, the subsequent regret interwoven with passages of hope for future opportunities. Her eloquent words crystallized a truth that cut through him. Regrets have a way of haunting the spirit, even manifesting as shadows in future generations. "Dad, what do you think Grandma would have done if she had followed her dreams?" Mia broke his reverie, sparking a direct confrontation with the notion he had managed to dodge until now. As her question lingered, Tom felt the echoes of his own life intermingling with those of his mother's. Choices led to other choices, and he could almost trace a lineage of reluctance, each generation reflecting the other's fear. Yet, Mia's naivete shone like a beacon of possibility. "I think she'd want us to be unafraid to embrace what makes us who we are," he responded thoughtfully. They sat in stillness, the realization of their shared anxiety resonating beneath the surface. The weight of family decisions pressed heavily within them, and Tom was confronted by the spectral version of himself, a man afraid to chase the sea, shackled to the land by duty. The phone buzzed again, jolting him back. This time, it was another message from Mark. "Meet me at the old fishing pier. We need to sort this out." Tom's stomach clenched. With Mia next to him, this was no longer about confronting past choices. It threatened to involve a confrontation with a brother he had distanced himself from, a man who wielded nostalgia and resentment like weapons. "Mia, I need to go meet Uncle Mark," he said, the weight of authority laced with uncertainty. "But I want you to think about what I said. We can break this cycle together. What if he won't listen?" she asked, the flicker of fear creeping into her voice. "Then it's my job to ensure he does," Tom replied, the determination rising in him. As he stepped outside, the cool air hit his face, sharpening his resolve. The journey to the pier felt irrationally drawn out, each footstep weighted with anticipation. In his mind, he envisioned the confrontation that awaited him, brother against brother, past against present. The shadows of historical grievances loomed large, but for the first time, he felt ready to face them. As he arrived, the churning waves whispered promises of clarity. The wooden pier creaked underfoot, a reminder of the fragility of connections. He spotted Mark already standing at the edge, staring into the horizon, lost in thought. "Let's talk," Tom said, fortifying himself against the impending turbulence, but before Mark could respond, the air between them crackled. With the unresolved tensions of years, Tom focused on the moment, willing himself to strip bare their shared history. "Mark, what do you really know about the family?" Tom demanded, the voice of inquiry pushing him toward confrontation. At that moment, Tom understood how essential this dialogue was, not just for his relationship with Mark, but for his legacy. The past was not merely a collection of memories but a crucible where futures could be forged. As Mark turned to face him, Tom steeled himself. The time had come to face the shadows with courage. What lay buried was about to resurface with a force that would change everything. The salty breeze draped over Tom like a heavy blanket as he stood across from Mark, feeling an unsettling mix of anticipation and dread. The moment teetered between potential reconciliation and disaster. "Mark," he began, forcing the words through a throat suddenly dry. "I believe there's a lot we need to unpack, not just from our past but for our future." Mark's body language said it all. He remained rigid, unwilling to step onto the battleground Tom had just designated. "What's there to talk about? You left everything behind. You chose your own path." The bitterness dripped from his voice, sharp and accusatory. Tom inhaled deeply, feeling the sting of his brother's words punctuating the wounds he'd carried for years. In this interaction, each syllable could ignite the flames that had simmered between them, but he wouldn't allow himself to be burned. "I didn't leave, Mark," he countered, the conviction building within him like a wave ready to crash. "I just wanted to find my own way, and maybe I didn't handle things perfectly." Mark's hardened expression softened for a fleeting second, replaced by a flash of vulnerability. "You think it's any easier for me? You think I wanted to take on Dad's burdens alone?" He gestured towards the ocean, its tumultuous waves mirroring his inner turmoil. "You left me to deal with his expectations. We both feel it, Tom. The weight, the regret. The familiar ache unfurled in Tom's chest. He had always perceived Mark as the stronger of the two, but now, standing before him, Tom sensed the same insecurities reflected back. "I understand. I've carried my own burdens." Moments of silence stretched between them, the tension palpable. "What do we want from each other?" Tom asked, a note of desperation threading through his tone. "What do we need to change?" Mark's eyes flickered down to the pier's worn planks, then back up, meeting Tom's gaze with a determination that made Tom's pulse race. You need to know I've resented you for leaving. But I also need you to acknowledge that you didn't escape. You haven't actually confronted any of this. Tom could feel the gnawing truth in those words. How often had he told himself he had moved on, when here he was, a mere stone's throw from a lifetime of questioning decisions. Maybe I've avoided it. But I want clarity now. I want to know how we can move forward. Clarity takes work, Mark replied, his brow furrowing. And airing out everything isn't pretty. Can you face those memories without flinching? Yes, Tom asserted, surprising himself with the sincerity in his voice. It was time to relinquish the facade and engage in the rawness of their truths. I want to explore what we've buried, the vows we made to uphold our parents' ideals as well as our own dreams. Mark studied Tom's face, an inscrutable expression playing across his features. Okay, then what's our first step? Let us talk about the night he left, Tom said, his heart racing. What happened? Mark shifted, protective of the memories, though the hesitant lure in his eyes contradicted his stiff posture. You really want to go there? Absolutely, Tom replied, emboldened. If not now, when? Is it possible to heal without revisiting the pain? A gust of wind ruffled through the air, swirling around them like the thoughts racing inside Tom's mind. Recalling the events of that night had always been a daunting prospect, but breaking their silence could unearth a spirit of understanding. Let us do this, Mark. As they began to speak, a narrative started forming. The staggering weight of years spent in silence transformed into an opportunity for revelation. What they would uncover, however, remained shrouded in uncertainty, but one question lingered, hovering between them like a threat. Would the truth be a catalyst for healing, or a deeper descent into their fractured history? With their past awaiting exploration, Tom understood that it was not just their relationship on the line but the spectrum of choices that would redefine their futures. Would they accept this pivotal moment, or let it slip through their fingers once more? The breath of possibility crackled in the air as they faced each other, poised on the precipice of their history, ready or not for what came next. Tom steeled himself, the veil hiding deeper family secrets threatened to be lifted. Would they be prepared for what lay beneath? As the weight of their history hovered in the acrid air, Tom felt his heart race, both from fear and anticipation. He could feel the salty mist settling on his skin, an unwelcome reminder of the deep emotional currents at play. The first steps toward addressing their past were fraught with danger, but he knew they needed to take them together. Let us go back, Tom suggested, his voice barely above a murmur as he moved into the realm of their shared memories, an imperfect tapestry colored by regret. Let us start with the anger, the night everything changed. Mark shifted slightly, an instinctive retreat into a world that had always been tumultuous for him. You think I haven't replayed that night 100 times? His voice was edged, a blade unsheathed. It's like a scar that never heals. Tom inhaled sharply, the intensity of Mark's words crashing against his eyelids. You're right. But carrying that scar alone has been unbearable for both of us. If we don't dissect this, it'll haunt us forever. Okay, but you'll have to be honest. No more skirts around the truth, Mark challenged, his vulnerability slowly giving way to a coiled frustration. Like the tightness of a wound rubber band, Tom determinedly met his gaze. I promise. He began weaving their past into a narrative, recalling that night with its chaotic physics. The shouting match in their home, the split-second decisions that changed the trajectory of their lives, and the anger that filled the empty spaces left by their father. As he spoke, he relived the moments that had defined not just their family but their roles within it. Tom, the dreamer who ventured forth, and Mark, the anchored sibling left to pick up the pieces. The last thing he said to me echoed for years, Tom continued, letting his voice tremble. You have to be a man, Tom. You can't run. But maybe I was never running, just looking for something that felt real. There's your escape narrative, Mark interrupted, his voice thick with protective disbelief. You didn't have to deal with the fallout. How could you know what it was like for me? The accusation stung, igniting the embers of Tom's resistance. I didn't know, but I have my own scars. He stopped himself, surprised by the anger brewing within. He had been about to invoke an excuse, wrapped in pain. Instead, he regained focus. Mark, I didn't understand how deep my absence would cut. I thought leaving would provide solace. Solace? Mark laughed bitterly. Solace is the last thing I had. I became the anchor while you chased dreams. Do you know what it takes to be that anchor? The tension hung heavy, and for a moment, vulnerability reigned. The truth lay stark between them, altered by paths chosen in youth and family ties that warped older than memory. The reality of their fractured relationship gnawed at Tom, but the urgency to confront it surged louder. I know I can't truly understand what you've been through, but we can't stay here, Tom pressed, the adrenaline coursing through him as he readied for a confrontation that felt like standing before their father's looming presence once again. We need to be ready to excavate every truth and reconcile it with the people we've become. As the waves crashed against the pier, he let the rhythm of the ocean guide his resolve. He wasn't just confronting Mark, he was confronting himself. Failure to seek absolution had shackled him in ways he had yet to decipher completely. Mark's expression softened for a heartbeat, then hardened again, leaving Tom grappling for a glimmer of hope in his brother's eyes. You think we can come back from this? We have to, Tom replied resolutely. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to Dad. Whatever part we played, it's time to face it. The air between them altered, the stakes were suddenly incalculable. They were on the verge of either dismantling the wall that had kept them apart or solidifying their division forever. As silence enveloped them, an unexpected thought crept into Tom's mind. Had they truly been defined by their father, or had they merely allowed his ghost to dictate their choices? Could they reclaim ownership of their legacy, even if it took them into the darkest corners of their shared past? As he stood there, ready for the next revelation to unfold, an unsettling chill raced down Tom's spine, whispering of buried secrets that could shatter them or finally set them free. Unveiling the truth was the only way forward, and the question loomed larger than ever: were they truly prepared for what lay ahead? The air around them felt charged, alive, as Tom shifted his weight from one foot to another, uncertainty intertwining with the determined steadiness he sought. He considered Mark's hardened exterior, the years of resentment etched across his face, knowing that every fleeting gaze and each quirk of his lips carried an avalanche of unsaid words and untamed feelings. Let us start by talking about our father, Tom suggested, taking the plunge, feeling the swell of the ocean mirror his own internal turbulence. His absence shaped both of us differently. Mark's expression darkened. Sure, bring him back into the conversation. The man who left a mess for us to clean up. That's not what I meant, Tom replied, shaking his head, a surge of urgency blossoming within him. I need you to understand. I want to explore how his presence or lack thereof has resonated in both our lives. I'm not trying to place blame. Then what are you trying to do? Mark asked, skepticism coating his tone. Because I still hear all that finger-pointing wrapped in your words. Tom's frustration quickly transformed into determination. I'm trying to understand us. I want to reconcile how we've diverged. We can't keep living like this. Mark pondered over Tom's words, his tightly clenched fists gradually relaxing. Fine, but you'd better pull the mask off everything, Tom. No justifications for your choices. Let us peel this back until we bleed. A silent understanding passed between them as Tom began to speak, digging deeper into the layers of their father's influence. He recalled the fierce arguments that shook their childhood home, the heavy disappointment dressed as duty. He imposed these ideals on me, like I was supposed to become some perfect replica of his dream. Mark let out a low, bitter laugh. And that left me out in the cold. You were his favorite, the naturally gifted son, the one with potential. It felt like I was just hanging back to be the caretaker. Tom swallowed hard. The resentment in Mark's voice felt like shrapnel embedded in his heart. You had to assume that role because I left. I didn't realize the pain my absence would cause. Exactly. Mark interrupted, urgency rising in his voice. You chased aspirations while I was left to keep our mother together. Living under that roof became chaos, no guidance, no support. Just expectations that never seemed to end. As those words hung in the air, The weight of their shared pain threatened to drown Tom, and yet an ember of realization ignited in him. "So, this is how we divided our lives," he breathed. "You became the anchor, and I turned into a wanderer. We've allowed that to imprison us." Mark's gaze softened for only a heartbeat before darkness veiled it again. "You don't get to frame us as victims. It's not like we're free just because we identify the problem." "Then let's take action," Tom asserted, urgency blazing in his heart. "We need to shift this narrative. We can redefine who we've been turned into because of him. We stand at a crossroads, we have the power to change it." Mark studied Tom's resolute expression, and for a moment, doubt flickered across his face. "What if we don't like what we find?" he whispered, vulnerability creeping in. "I'm prepared to face whatever it is," Tom responded, his voice strong and steady. "Because I want us, Mark. Not just to break free from the past but to redefine ourselves outside of it. We owe it to ourselves to dig deep." The waves roared behind them, a symphony that echoed their dissonance. They stood facing one another, the gulf of years and pain stretched between them, yet Tom sensed a shift in opportunity. Their confrontation had ancestral roots but, amazingly, he felt freshly committed to reshaping their path toward healing, but with that realization came another, the haunting notion that they'd yet to unearth the deepest sorrow, the most hidden truths. He could feel it waiting for them, a shadow lurking in the depths of their dialogue. "What else is still buried beneath the surface?" Tom asked, barely above a whisper, his pulse quickening. As Mark looked away, the weight of his silence spoke volumes, and dread tinged the edges of Tom's anticipation. The urgent question echoed in Tom's mind: what if some revelations were not meant to be faced? The journey was threatening to reshape them in ways neither had anticipated. The tide was changing, and it felt monumental, but at what cost? A silence enveloped them as Mark avoided Tom's gaze, a mixture of fear and resistance swirling in the air. Tom felt the deep pulse of their unresolved issues, almost tangible between them. It was suffocating, pressing against his chest as the ocean waves crashed rhythmically in the background. "What are you really scared of, Mark?" Tom challenged, leaning in slightly, as if willing to breach the distance that still remained. "If we keep ignoring this, it will fester until it becomes unmanageable." Mark's shoulders tensed, a subtle reaction that mirrored an internal battle. "Facing it means revealing things I've buried deep. It's easier to let the past stay buried." There was a tremor in his voice, a hint of the turmoil he fought to conceal. "Easier for you or for both of us?" Tom's heart raced as he pressed on, aware of the dangerous territory they tread. "You don't have to bear this alone anymore. Today is about understanding, about strengthening ourselves, and that first step is acceptance." For a moment, Mark looked as if he might resist again, to pull back into the shadows of his defiance. But Tom could see the glint of curiosity flickering beneath the hardened surface, and he seized the opportunity with care. "It can't hurt more than staying silent," he said softly, his voice almost a plea. "Fine," Mark finally relented, his voice strained yet resolute. "But don't think I'm going to hold back. You might find out more about me than you're prepared for." "Good. I want you to be honest," Tom replied, feeling a rush of adrenaline and a tinge of fear at what Mark might reveal. "After all, we need to confront our truths, both the light and the dark." Mark inhaled deeply, as if steeling himself. "You want to know why I think it's all messed up? Because I've spent my life feeling unworthy in my own home, while you strutted off into the world like you were destined for greatness. I've had to fight for any scrap of validation, and it constantly feels like a losing game." The weight of Mark's admission settled around Tom. "I see that now," he admitted, allowing a moment of introspection. "I never understood how my choices impacted you and made you feel invisible." "Exactly," Mark replied, a flicker of anger sparking in his eyes. "You were allowed freedom, I was handed chains. My entire identity was shaped by your dreams, just as much as yours was shaped by Dad's." Tom felt a wave of guilt wash over him, mixing with an unsettling realization. "I never meant to restrain you. I only wanted to chase what I thought was happiness. But maybe I never considered what staying meant for you." A heavy silence settled again, both men grappling with the magnitude of their conversation. The acknowledgement of their intertwined lives sent ripples through Tom's mind, revealing new understanding. Purging unprocessed feelings was one thing, but facing them forged a new reality. Do you think it's truly possible to rewrite our narratives? Tom asked, vulnerability threading through his words. Can we both redefine the legacy he left in us? Mark hesitated, the struggle between hope and skepticism evident in his shifting expression. It's the only choice we have left. But it won't be easy, and I question if I even know how to forge my own path. What if we figure it out together? Tom's voice took on a softer, more coaxing quality. Let us promise to be brutally honest as we embark on this journey. We owe it to ourselves, and to Mom. Another moment passed, and Tom could see the walls around Mark's heart cracking, just a bit. Okay, he finally said, his voice steadier. But understand, the truth may be painful. Tom nodded earnestly, feeling a shift within himself, also a burgeoning sense of clarity. Let us uncover those painful truths then. Together, we'll confront whatever awaits us, because I refuse to live shackled by the past any longer. As they stood there, the low tide began to recede, pulling back the layers of sand and revealing hidden debris left behind. It dawned on Tom that their souls mirrored the shoreline. The truths buried deep could no longer be kept hidden beneath the surface, but as they prepared for this daunting shared task ahead, a quiet voice of doubt echoed in Tom's mind. Was he truly ready to face what lay in his brother's heart? Could he bear witness to the darkness within Mark while wrestling with his own? The questions hung heavily, casting shadows on the fragile hope they tentatively built upon. The ties binding them could either strangulate or liberate. Would they emerge stronger, or would they uncover unforeseen wounds, leaving irrevocable scars? What do we do first? Mark inquired, uncertain yet willing. Tom glanced toward the horizon, feeling the weight of the moment pressing on him. We start with our father, he answered, his voice steady, albeit with a hint of trepidation. We dissect the man who shaped our fears, our motivations, and perhaps our destinies. Mark's eyes narrowed, accepting the challenge, as an unspoken resolve tightened between them. The journey was just beginning, and it loomed daunting, every unturned stone promising a revelation that could either heal or further fracture the bond they sought to restore. As they stepped into the abyss of discovery together, the ocean beyond whispered secrets of its own stories yearning to be unveiled. And in that profound silence, Tom knew that surrendering to the truth was the only route toward their redemption. But the question remained, echoing amid the crashing waves. What might they unearth next? Tom took a steadying breath, the salty air filling his lungs as he and Mark prepared to venture into the painful labyrinth of memories that their father had created. Each step toward acknowledging their father's shadows felt like stepping into treacherous waters, murky and filled with uncertainty. Let us start with him. Our first memories, Tom prompted, his voice gaining strength. The past loomed over them like looming thunderclouds, each reluctant recollection enough to darken their resolve. What do you remember about him? Mark's brow furrowed, the inner conflict pulling at him like a tide. I remember, expectations, harsh words. He never had time for me, he finally said, the vulnerability piercing through his defensive walls. You were his favorite. You were always so good at everything. That's a heavy burden to carry, Tom acknowledged, understanding now that Mark's resentment was rooted in the years of comparison. But think about it, how much of that burden is based on his perceptions? How much of how you view yourself is a result of his influence? Mark looked away, the distant ocean mimicking the turmoil within him. I don't know, he admitted reluctantly. It felt real back then. But even now, it's like I'm still competing with his ghost. Tom's chest tightened as he realized they were not just discussing their father, they were battling the very elements of their identities shaped by the man who had hoped to mold them into replicas of his own dreams. But ghosts can't truly define us. We get to choose our paths, he offered gently, Mark's fists clenched, an indication of the inner turmoil bubbling up. Does that mean I'm supposed to forget how deeply he shaped who I am? He may be gone, but the scars remain. Not forget, but understand, Tom corrected. We have to dissect those memories, lay them bare. It's about being honest with ourselves, and ultimately he needs to no longer hold power over us. As they continued this dialogue, Tom felt a continual pull within himself. Was he strong enough to help Mark sift through this emotional wreckage? Would his own struggles be too much for the both of them? Suddenly, a flood of memories washed over him, uninvited yet necessary. I remember when he never came to my baseball games, Tom whispered, the ache of that young boy still palpable. I always wondered if he could see how much I needed him there. How I longed for his approval but never seemed to earn it. Mark's glare softened. I thought I was the only one holding on to this baggage. You always looked so confident. Fake it till you make it, Tom muttered, the reality of his childhood dawning on him. It took me years to realize that the confidence people saw wasn't genuine. I just wanted to impress him, to earn his love by being what he wanted. Is that why you left? Mark asked, voice barely above a whisper. To escape his expectations? Tom nodded slowly, processing a truth he had long buried. Part of it. But deep down, I was afraid that if I stayed, I'd lose myself entirely. An unsteady silence surrounded them, each grappling with the turbulent emotions swirling in their hearts. Tom felt a shift, a new clarity coalescing among the chaos. Maybe as they shared these revelations, it would lead both of them toward that long-desired reclamation of their identities. Let us not just push through, but really challenge these memories, the good and the bad, Tom suggested, feeling a spark of determination. Let us rewrite the narrative. Together. Mark's eyes now blazed with a blend of acceptance and resolve. I'm in, he declared, the bonds of their brotherly relationship strengthening as they jointly faced their troubled histories. But as they stood at the precipice of their emotional journey, Tom's thoughts drifted to the realities yet to be confronted. The past would yield more secrets, perhaps ones neither were prepared for. What residual darkness lay ahead waiting to be unearthed, and with the questioning of how deep their familial scars ran, a flicker of apprehension crept into Tom's mind. They had stirred the pot of painful memories, but the real test would be uncovering how those memories might impact each of their futures. Let us take it step by step. We can go deeper, Mark whispered, a flicker of encouragement lighting his demeanor. Little did they know, the stones they chose to unturn would reveal more than just their father's legacy. They might uncover the truth of their very selves. Would that truth bring solace, or would past grievances again rear their heads to torment them as they pushed forward? As Tom glanced toward the horizon, a mixture of hope and dread settled in. What more would they uncover as they dipped their toes into the waters of the past? Tom took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the conversation hang in the salt-kissed air. Standing on the old fishing pier alongside Mark, the tides of familial expectations ebbed and flowed beneath them, a perfect metaphor for the emotional journey they were about to embark on. Before dwelling on the shadows of their father's influence, Tom resolved to ground their exploration in acknowledgement, a commitment to dismantle burdens that had long held them captive in silence. Mark, let us start from the beginning, he said, words steady and clear. Not only what shaped us but what truly matters now. We need to redefine our path rather than be confined by the old ways. Mark nodded, the tension in his shoulders loosening just a fraction. You're right. Maybe it's time to be unapologetically honest. Let us unravel this knot together. As they glanced out over the water, each wave crashing against the pier bore the weight of their unshared truths. It was time to confront not just their father's shadow, but how they had allowed it to dictate their lives. Tom craved honesty as a guiding principle, and he resolved to embrace his own vulnerability while navigating this delicate terrain. Let us reflect on what we've learned thus far. We have both felt defined by expectations. However, moving forward means facing who we are and who we choose to become, Tom initiated, watching the flicker of determination igniting in Mark's eyes. I guess that starts with recognizing that I've let the ghost of our father permeate my self-worth, Mark confessed, shoulder leaning into a newfound acknowledgement. Every criticism became a weight that I carried, validating my role as caretaker instead of brother. With each confession, the air lightened, lifting the burdens they had long felt shackled to. It was raw and unfiltered, a step into the vulnerable reality they both had avoided for years. Tom felt an excitement bubble within. This was their opportunity to reclaim authority over their own lives. What defines us doesn't have to be a legacy of pain. When I left home, I thought I would break free, but I see now that I was just repeating a cycle of fear. We can rewrite that narrative, he proposed, his voice steady with resolve. Mark straightened, absorbing Tom's words. A flicker of strength coursed through him as if he were shedding an old skin. What's our first step then? Let us take actions to claim our individual stories, Tom suggested, excitement filling the space between them. We begin by creating a plan, not just to reconcile our pasts, but to carve out futures aligned with who we truly want to be. The flicker in Mark's eyes transformed into resolve. You mean like setting personal goals? Not just for me, but for us as brothers? That we hold each other accountable? Exactly, Tom affirmed, his heart thudding with exhilaration. A pact of sorts. We redefine together, create a roadmap forward, process it all, and continue to support one another, not as shadows of our past but as individuals ready to embrace the future. Mark's flicker of enthusiasm ignited into solid determination. Let us pledge not to repeat the cycles. In that moment, as they stood gazing at the horizon, they felt an exhilarating connection cementing anew. The wooden pier beneath them felt steadfast, symbolic of the foundation they were about to rebuild as brothers and individuals. I feel lighter already, Mark murmured. So do I. And this is just the beginning, Tom replied, buoyancy threading through him. We don't have to be bound by our family's expectations. We can achieve so much more. It's our story now, we have the power to take control. With growing clarity, Tom turned back towards the water, envisioning a tapestry of possibilities weaving before them. Reflections of shared joy, intertwined with their individual dreams, danced against the surface. As they stepped back onto solid ground, an uncertainty lingered like clouds still hanging overhead. Each step away from the pier felt laden with unturned stones yet to uncover, but for the first time in years, their hearts resounded in unison. They would finally reclaim their narrative, reshaping their legacies together rather than allowing the past to dictate their futures, and so, with their pact in the air and the will to embark on a transformative journey, Tom and Mark walked side by side, only more aware of the roots of their shared history yet unified in the pursuit of their own identities, fueled by courage and purpose. They were ready not only to face the family legacy but to reshape it, transforming a cycle of disappointment into a saga of triumph. This was not merely reconciliation, it was liberation, a promise of tomorrow paving the way to personal achievements yet to unfold. As they moved forward, Tom felt a wave of solid confidence pulse through him. This was the moment he was meant to reclaim his past and redefine his future. Each step forward was not just a victory over the past but an embrace of their authentic selves. Now, it's your turn to seize the moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure others see these transformative tales. Comment your reactions and theories about this journey and its powerful conclusion. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this message of overcoming. You need to show your support now. This is the moment. Don't wait even one more second to share.